Financial Argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we are moving closer and closer to this perfect storm. And this perfect storm is going to happen during the election or prior to the election period. Because what we're seeing right now is the elite, the central bankers, they're nervous about what is going to happen. And there are many things happening all at once. We have the economy, which is deteriorating very, very quickly now. When we look at the economic indicators, we see that the real people economy, it is not doing well. The manipulated numbers, yes, they're doing well because they can manipulate them. They can manipulate the stock market, GDP, unemployment, keep precious metals suppressed. But when you look at what the people are doing, you can see they have no control of this. And they're very angry about this. They're starting to point fingers of who's responsible for this. And those people who are not spending, those people who are not taking their money out of the bank and using it in retail or purchasing a home, these people, they're the ones who are ruining the economy. But you have to remember, why aren't the people doing this? The people aren't doing this is because they don't feel confident. When people don't feel confident, they don't take their money and they don't go spend. When people don't have jobs, they don't go into they don't take their money, they don't go and spend their money. When people are hearing rumors of layoffs in corporations and they fear that one day they'll lose their job, they're not going to go spend their money. When the next generation can't find jobs out of college and they have all the student loan debt, guess what? They're not going to go out and spend their money. And when you see what is going on around the country, around the world, you can see why people are very nervous about what is happening right now. And people realize that they need a change. And we're seeing more and more companies coming out and saying, listen, revenue is falling, sales are just not there. And of course, they're making different excuses of why this is all happening. But we all know why it's all happening. We understand that the economy is not doing well. But we see Ericsson, their sales, they have plunged. And they are warning that things are getting really bad. And they're out there saying that profits have plunged by 17%. They're warning investors. They're saying that the third quarter sales and profitability down the toilet. It's deteriorating faster than expected, and there is no turnaround in sight whatsoever. Of course, they're blaming Brazil, Russia, Middle East, what's happening in Europe. That's what they're blaming it on. But when you look at the situation, all these companies have one thing in common, is that sales are declining, revenue is declining, they're laying off people, and the outlook doesn't look good. And the reason for all of this, it's because the economy is contracting, deteriorating, collapsing. And this is why all these companies, retailers, shipbuilders, electronic makers, this is why this is all happening right now. We see Daewoo Shipbuilding. They're going to cut their workforce by 24% because of losses. I mean, that's 3,000 jobs. So more and more people are being let go. We see from Bank of America, and we did this last time where we looked at the Bank of America internal data on credit card spending. And again, credit card spending is spending money that you really don't have. But they use this to see how the economy is doing. So when people get their credit cards freed up a little bit, they go out and they spend a little bit. But they're spending money they really don't have. But what we're seeing is September does not look good. Spending is deteriorating. And we can see right now that this next report coming up, where they're going to be looking at retail spending, it is probably not going to improve that much. Now, we are coming into the holiday season. We understand Halloween is coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. Then we have the holiday season. So we will see a little bit of an upward movement in spending, but it's not going to be where it should be, because what we're seeing right now is a contraction of spending, a contraction of retail, a contraction of the global economy. And what we're seeing right now, it is getting worse and worse. And every holiday season, when we started looking back at 2012, going to 2013, 2014, 2015, we can see the trend every single year where the holiday season gets worse and worse and worse. And we look at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and sales just aren't there. And every year after the holiday seasons, we see thousands upon thousands of stores continually close, go bankrupt, lay off people. And nothing is going to change. Actually, it will change. It's going to get worse. This holiday season is probably going to be one of the worst holiday seasons that we've seen since 2008. We see Deutsche Bank, well, they're just trying to stay afloat. They have sold another $1.5 billion in debt at junk bond terms. They're doing whatever they possibly can just to keep the bank alive. And we can see right now all of this is Band-Aid fixes. I mean, they are in very big trouble. And remember, most of the banks throughout Europe and the United States, these banks are insolvent. These stress tests, that's propaganda to make you believe that everything is fine because of the banking crisis that we went through back in 2008. So they came up with this ridiculous stress test to convince everyone, don't worry about it, we got it under control. But we know they do not have this under control. We see HSBC, they're setting up red alerts all over the place. And they've just thrown up the ultimate warning signal. In a note to clients, which was released Wednesday, Murray Gunn, the head of the technical analysis for HSBC, said that we have a red alert right here. It's an imminent sell-off in stocks given the price action over the past few weeks. And he's looking at the Elliott wave, and he's saying, the Elliott wave tracks alternating patterns in the stock market, and he's saying the behavior and the possible next move is a sharp downward sell-off. And the market looks like it's going to come crashing down. Now, when did they say this was going to be? They did not. But we can see right now the way everything is going, I wouldn't be surprised if it's sooner than later. Now, I talked about the different phases of the collapse in prior reports, and we know there's a phase one coming up where the central bank is going to look for more legislation to take more control of the economy, really the global economy, because really the Fed really controls what the other central banks are doing. And then we have the Bank of International Settlement, which is the central bank of central banks. But we see right now they're putting out feelers to see the reaction of getting more control. And they're also putting out signals, or they're dropping breadcrumbs to let us know that maybe a recession, depression is headed our way. We have to know that they came out with a report saying, well, if we go into a recession, depression, the Fed is ready and prepared to do more QE all the way up to $4 trillion, which we know it's going to be much more than that. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers came out and he warns that the global central banks are totally unprepared to fight the next recession. Now, what's very interesting about all of this is that we're supposed to be in this incredible recovery, but what they keep talking about is the next recession, the next crisis, the next crash. Now, he says probably sometime in the foreseeable future, we're going to have another recession. And the central banks right now, don't really have the fuel in the tank to respond to the next crisis. They need more control. So we see already they're setting up this propaganda to convince everyone they have nothing left, so they'll need more control of the economy the next time we go into recession. So we've been hearing this a couple of times where they're going to be using more QE. They need legislation passed. We have another recession coming up very soon. We don't know when, but we know there'll be another one. How sure they are. Because what they're really looking at right now is that we've never recovered. They understand that everything they've done has not helped. The global economy is deteriorating very, very quickly right now, faster than we've ever seen before. A lot of the economic indicators that we went through, they are either the same as 2008 or a lot worse right now. And we can see already that they're preparing and getting ready to go to Congress to get more power. And this is what all this is all about. And this will be phase one of the collapse. Now, does phase one mean that no one's going to get hurt? Yes, people are going to get hurt. Jobs are going to be lost. The stock market's going to come down. They're going to be blaming this on whatever group, whatever country, most likely Russia, North Korea, China, maybe even the American people. They'll blame it on. But we can see already that they are definitely preparing and getting ready to bring down this financial system. The Federal Reserve came out and it is warning about cybersecurity threats to the payment network. And they're very concerned about this. And the Kansas City Federal Reserve president came out and they're seeing a growing threat because they're seeing probing. They're seeing outside countries trying to get into the SWIFT system. And they are warning that these threats are growing. It will undermine the public confidence if the system is hit. They need a way to stop it if it does happen. And if someone does hack into the SWIFT system, which they did already, of course, we know this is an inside job. If they do this, we need a way to shut down the financial system. And we've talked about this before. It is a perfect way, a cyber attack is a perfect way to convince the public that the financial system was hit hard. This is the reason why the economy is crashing down, because they really don't have to prove anything. All they have to do is set off the propaganda throughout the corporate media, have the government come out and point the finger. And at that point, all they have to do is say, okay, we're in an economic crisis. The system was hacked. We shut down the stock market. We know it has a kill switch. We shut down the NASDAQ. We know it has a kill switch. We shut down the BAT system. We know it has a kill switch now. We shut down the banking system because we need to find out what actually happened. We're going to have to put limits on the amount of money that people can take out right now until we go through this. We'll shut it down just for the weekend. Don't worry about it, people. Of course, Monday will come and the banks will still not be open. And then all of a sudden they'll say we're missing who knows how many $1 trillion. The banks need funding. Where do they get it from? Well, the FDIC doesn't cover this, so they'll have to use the bail-in documents. And we can see we're headed in this direction. We can see this is how they're going to explain away how this entire economy just fell apart. They've been preparing for this for quite a while. They have everything in place, and I'm hoping that everyone else has everything in place because they've been preparing for this. Many Americans, many people in Europe, many people in Canada, Australia have not preparing for this. They have all their currency in the bank. They don't have any gold and silver. They don't have any cash on hand. They don't have any supplies. So whatever you're doing right now, you need to start ramping up and you need to get prepared for what is coming. And it looks like We're headed in that direction, and it's going to be here much sooner than people realize. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.